Da, 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 da. Yeah. Aren't any barking dogs coming along. This is going to be part 1 and part 2. No, I'm going to have to move. Most important thing is getting to free bread. And that really is the most important thing. There's something I wasn't going to put anywhere. And it's not inauthenticity. It's for 27 years, all that's happened. My male, but mainly a man who would run several very big websites, mainly on behalf of women who were being tyrannized by the state from 2005 to about 11, 12. Leighton. He was the first person to say the internet has become feminized. Now, he wasn't exactly he wasn't well read or anything. But what does that mean? I have absolutely no interest in what it might mean. But there is something. There's a few things that matter. 27 years ago, I ran a book selling business for 5 years. And by 25 years ago, it was absolutely critical that every hour spent on work was made the most of, because I had a mother who had postnatal depression, maybe, and then for 3 or 4 years my kid to feed. Only by doing that. And this is like 26 years ago. My email company then, which is mail.com, which also is post.com, etc, etc, etc. I don't use Simon Clayton at mail.com, which is the default setting, because people could misspell it. You see, you have to think. So I set it to the not default at post.com. You have to think. I think that actually most people stopped thinking when technology was in ascendance. M-A-I-L, people can mistype as M-A-L-E. But even then, so I used to, in my internet book selling business, which I absolutely depended on a good week I'd make 500 quid. Really hard work. But yeah, 7 years ago, mail.com, M-A-I-L.com, who were American, and then I think they were bought out by Germans. Anyway, for about 3 months, all the email just disappeared. But I didn't know. And I could never get diligent co-workers. I mean, the rural, this is in Hay-on-Wye. Rural areas just 30 years ago all went fucking spastic. The education was always appalling, and then as middle-class people from the cities semi-retired there, you must never have a semi-retired teacher, in other words, somebody doing 2 days a week, because they didn't care. They didn't care. I actually had one of those teachers as my staff member, Annette de Grandis, who taught IT at Brecon Polly or whatever it was. And she lost 2 months of cataloguing. Cataloguing is the big horrible job you have to do when you're selling books online. It's like a huge amount of work. If you're doing expensive books, collectible books, rare books, it's like can take half an hour per book. And she did about. She was paid. I'm not like these modern women who don't pay your wages. Yeah, she did 100 hours of work cataloguing. And despite being the IT teacher at Brecon College or whatever, further education college, she didn't back up and lost all that work. Anyway, forget her. That's how good my memory is. Yeah, all that matters is like 7 years ago. Yeah, I had this period of, for 3 or 4 months, I was sending out all my orders, which each one had to go to an individual bookshop, dealing with my customers. And all the email was just disappearing. Not from my computer, it was disappearing at their server. But this only came to light after 3 or 4 months where things started to go wrong. Orders weren't arriving, customers were contacting by phone. Point. Ever since then, what has one's life really been? If you live in really rural areas and make little connections about whatever you're doing, be it business, be it personal, be it... Yeah, my main thing the last 10, 12, 13 years, greener, sustainable kind of policies, thoughts. Your connections matter. You don't have many of them. It was obvious if one didn't have my personal major email failure 27 years ago, but it's obvious that every single email has to be checked in and out. None of the systems are reliable, ever. Anybody that thinks that Gmail is going to remain forever reliable is a fool. Mail.com were the biggest, or I think they were the biggest in the world. That's why I chose them 28 years ago. No, they became totally unreliable. And although I still have my old email account, I've got to give up all digital. It was so notable. In 2020, my old Simon Clayton at post.com still has all my banking and all things like that. It utterly fell to bits. For about 6 months, it was clearly not working again. Point being, what is the internet being feminized? It is not an aggression as a sane, diligent, thoughtful person for whom every communication I send out actually is just an invitation to useful, collaborative, whatever. Or it might be to one's daughter. It might be to the only person one cares about in the world. Anybody that relies on this stuff is sadly not of this. Well, they're not. How can you put this? Male, or rather diligent, and not having a neurotic feeling as response to everything means when you send something out, check it's arrived. And then it also means acknowledging with a thanks, got that. Because we've known for decades the spam filters are really screwy. They will never work properly because you have the Type 2 men, Tom Paul and their acolytes gaming everything. Oh, they pretend not. They pretend that there's a certain person that when I encountered her 13 and a half, 14 years ago, it's like, there's a great big server downstairs hidden away. doing dodgy stuff. None of my business. But the gamers of the internet will always have ways around mass spamming out or whatever they do. So it's never, the spam filters are never going to stabilize as accurate. So you must always check every email in and out. And not her fault, but perfect example. I sent, like, really, to me, all my heart went into sending out a couple of emails a few days ago. And I'm glad this happened, because it reminds me. That's the fundamental thing. So what is male and female? Women never, ever, I've never encountered a woman who understands that when you're sending out a bit of digital, you've got to check it gets there. They have never proactively tried to see that that's the case, or been part of that essential way of trying to communicate. Is it because they think, well, if I acknowledge this, somehow I'm going to get something male is going to happen to me? I've no idea. It's just pathetic, frankly. And it's the one thing you want to say to your kid, or to anybody you care about. Try and have that as a habit, because it is totally and utterly defined one's last 27 years. Occasionally sending something out that, like, one's heart is in, or maybe between one and the few people in the world one actually cares about. But anybody who thinks that you can rely on digital communication is lost, a fool, and rather sad. Shouldn't have said that last bit. Anyway, why did I turn this on? Yeah, there's something that I gotta put into my weird memoir, which wasn't planned. Later.